She's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 125 today, and we are coming with, I don't know, it's been a very interesting week, I feel, for us. In ways, I feel like we haven't been as productive as we could have been, and in some ways I feel like at least I had a whole entire spout of marathoning. But it's weird because when I was packing for today, I completely forgot about all the things I marathoned. I actually had to run home after a stop and re-grab these out of his bed before I came here.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I dropped off what I was planning to show, it was one of those things where I was like,
oops, I forgot.
Because this happened so quickly.
Yeah, she had to get it done before his party.
It was such a quick spurt of time that over the course of all the time, this is not what I think about as to what I got done this week.
And boy, when he opened up her gifts, it was the best thing ever. I mean, he loved his other gifts too, but man, he loved his gifts from Mommy.
All of these were in his bed when I...
Yes. So, I'm going to show you my stuff first, because when she starts showing you her stuff, it's just the cuteness factor. It is so cute. But mine, I have been working on this, but working with a 3-ply and a 0-ply, it just feels like it's taking forever. Only because it's smaller weight, but the colors, oh my gosh, I am loving the colors. Now, I am probably into my second mandala, I think, at this point. I know I'm into my second Aunt Lydia's, because I ended up having to start my sherbet one. And those are pinks, greens, and yellows in like almost a neon pastel.
It reminds me of spring.
Yeah. And going along with this, oh, so pretty. We started out with the ocean Aunt Lydia's thread, and those were blues and whites, and it was called Waves. And so we do have those in here, but as mandalas do, they transition into all these beautiful colors. And then we started into the sherbet accent, and the colors that it's bringing out in this are just beautiful. I especially loved in the browns. See how that's just bringing that out? And then now the blues are showing the colors off very vibrantly too. So I am using a 5mm hook. I am using a double crochet. And
is this one you're really going to give away?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to keep this one just because look at the colors in this.
It reminds me too much of you for you to give this away. It looks like art.
It's very, very beautiful how the colors are working up.
It honestly looks like some sort of oil painting. It doesn't look like a blanket.
Yeah, and it's so pretty and so nice, and I just love working on it. But it may take me a while because I'm not used to working with these weights of yarn. And so it is taking a bit longer. I'm glad I have a 5mm hook because it would take even longer. Yeah, if I had a smaller hook. And that's all I've been working on, per se. We have little man over here, and he is supposed to be taking a nap, but he is watching his tablet, and he may talk back to it. Just to let you know.
So, as my mom mentioned, and what I mentioned last week, I had a bit of a marathon going on to be able to get things done for my son. For any one of you who have been following along at this point, I have been pretty much since Christmas making him a whole bunch of Mario characters, and his since Christmas to his actual birthday, the beginning of January, to the end of the month where we had his party with the family, I have been consistently making him characters. It started with Mario, Luigi, and Toad. Then I made Bowser and Princess Peach. And now, to his collection, he has a piranha plant, a Goomba, a power mushroom, and a superstar. Now, I'm going to have my mom have the links to some of the patterns that were things that I was able to get for free. But I did take some liberties with these, and I am just going to mention that. Some of them are kind of a free-for-all, and I will explain to you what I mean as I bring them up. But I'm going to have my mom choose which one I'm going to show off first.
I think let's start with the small ones and go up to the bigger ones.
Okay, so this was something I did on my own.
And you were working on last time that we filmed, because you were just showing them
The centers.
The centers without the points.
Yep. Now, I'm not going to say that this is my best star I've ever made, because it's really not.
But he knows what it is, so it doesn't matter.
No, meaning that I could have done this better. But it is just a star. The lines that you see right here are supposed to be eyes. The superstars and most of the characters are kind of like present and or sentient in this universe, where it's not that they necessarily can talk or speak back, but it's supposed to indicate that the power-ups are alive. When you interact with them, they enhance you. And that's the point. With the superstar, when you have it for the next 15 seconds in the game, you are invincible to anything you come in contact with.
Okay.
So you kind of have this rainbow hue hit you, and a very special song plays over the main theme, and it indicates that you are actually in the super state.
Mode. Yeah.
Yep. And so this is the superstar, and in the movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie, this is what everyone is after. So it was a very key opponent in the story, so he really wanted one. I made it very simple. I made two separate, I think, hexagons by doing a magic ring with only 5 single crochets into the magic ring, and I increased gradually with it at 5 so that there would only be 5 sides. And then once I reached the size I wanted to on each flat side, I just ended up making points.
Right.
So that I was able to make similar stars.
And she made 2 of them and then put them together.
And I put them together. Now, there were obvious mistakes I made with this little guy. I actually wanted to make him over again, but I ended up just pushing through and making him work. He is rugged. He is not perfect, but my son loves him. He knows what it is, and not every single little thing has to be perfect for it to be magical.
And played with.
And so at this point...
And he brought
great.
Each piece out of the bag that she had and said, star, mushroom, so he knew what they all were.
Yeah, they were not hard to identify to him, so I still did a good enough job of making it in its image.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't the perfectest thing I've made ever. Regardless of whether that was good English or not, we're going to keep going. This is another one that I made on the fly. This is not a pattern I made, and I can't honestly remember how I completely did this. I know that I did it kind of similar to a, if you know how to do 3D shapes, practically just start with making the ball shape, but cut off soon when you're doing the straight down cylinder portion, and start decreasing quickly so that you can make the more the puffy disc almost, and then you're going straight down again after a certain decrease to end off the bottom of the mushroom, and then everything is shaping. Everything is how you're sewing it together to be able to make it the right shape don't trust that it's going to be how you want it to. You still have to make it the shape you want even after you're working on it. So this is a little power mushroom. In the Mario universe, when you eat a power mushroom, you become bigger and you're able to take a hit without instantly losing your life. So it kind of becomes an extra stamina, and it allows for extra boosted strength. It pretty much makes you kind of a super version of yourself in the aspect of strength itself. So this makes you invincible for 15 seconds to any attack.
Right.
Even the main boss. Okay. This makes you stronger to your already set abilities, and bigger.
Okay.
But if you get hit by anything, it takes that power up away, and you're back to the original state of what you were before.
Okay.
So it's a pretty cool thing. In the movie, Mario actually doesn't like mushrooms, so my son finds it actually quite hilarious to be like, oh, he doesn't like a mushroom, look at that, and he just waves it around. And in the movie, Luigi likes the mushrooms more, but Mario's the one that is force-fed the mushrooms because he's the hero, quote-unquote. Yeah, like I said, kind of made a similar ball shape, but I kind of cut it off where it could have been much more perfectly symmetrical. I ended up decreasing and then finished color change to be able to make the stem, and I finished off quickly. I end up taking the stem color and sewing to tighten off right at this point where I wanted to really shape the khaki color into a very perfect symmetrical form. So if you can see, I really went in with my my needle and I tightened up right here.
Right.
You see where I'm saying?
Yeah.
So right here I tightened up so this would be the right symmetrical shape, making this portion much more poofier than this, so that it was going to be the right shape, like a mushroom, because it was still trying to taper off to be like a cone, and I didn't want that.
Right.
I wanted this point perfectly flat, and I wanted this to be perfectly the same shape all the way down. So don't forget that you can have the power to, even after stuffing it and casting off, you still manipulate the shape how you want to. You just have to be smart so that you can't see it.
Right.
Make sure that you're hiding it as much as possible, but you can still make it happen. At the end of the day, if you don't feel like the color that you're using is going to be right, get some invisible thread, make it work. It still will work. You can even use fishing wire, fishing line, if you have nothing else. I made circles just to add for the white pops and just sewed some black onto that, and that's how I made these two things. Again, I have no pattern for these. I just made these on the fly. I made them to the size of the characters I had already made for scale size. Now, for these guys, I did have patterns for these, and I will have my mom link them in our description box below. I'll start with the Goomba. The Goomba is a mushroom. That is an evil mushroom. He is a shroom that is evil, and he walks around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see? And for you to get this evil villain to be gone, you actually have to pound on his head and he squishes.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So, and that's how you do it in the game. He obviously has very dramatic eyebrows.
Yes, he does.
He kind of almost looks like a, what are they called? The pigs with the tusks, you know what I mean?
Boars?
The boars. Kind of looks like, reminds me of that, where like have the teeth hang from the bottom coming out, like a protruding jaw. The big eyes. He has little feet. He's obviously a very interesting shape as he's kind of flat by nature, but these are 2D characters that are being made to be 3D, so they're not going to be perfect. They want him to be flat because honestly, he just normally walks across the screen like that, so he doesn't really have depth. He really is just this shape. So it's kind of fun. with this pattern, everything seems straightforward with the shaping, these feet. That was fantastic. She literally, though, after that, just gives you a full-on photo of this and just says, using fleece, imitate what I've made.
Oh.
Everything else is trying to be self-explanatory to the image. It is a free pattern. Like I said, the shaping and everything with the yarn, fantastic. She did great. But you're supposed to figure out the face on your own.
Oh, gosh.
So if this is something you're making for a family member and you have no prior understanding of the game, even just going and looking up Goomba for the game, just so you have a little bit more images, might be helpful, not just this by itself. How I did this, I made 2 similar oval shapes for the eyes and smaller ovals of the black fleece, and I sewed the black onto the white and then sewed these on. I placed the frown on first and just did 2 similar triangles that I thought would look good. With this, I made a very wide V, almost kind of like when you're doing the fake bird in an outline on a drawing, where it's just the kind of the really lazy V or the very almost M.
Yeah.
Birds in the horizon sort of a thing. You're kind of doing that sort of a shape, but I made 2 of them and I sewed them together because I wanted this to be tougher and sturdier because it's coming off of the face.
Yeah.
Now, there's other ways you could do this. You could do like a ratio of 1-on-1 from water and maybe some crafting glue and kind of stiffen up this piece by paintbrushing the black fleece into that material,
right,
so that this holds its shape a little bit better before you sew it on. But I just did 2 pieces of fleece in the same shape, sewed them together, then sewed it on, and that's how I completed this guy. So again, great pattern, but the face is something you kind of have to be confident enough to do on your own. There's no instructions for that, so
right,
it's really just make a frown, and just, it's not that hard. But for anyone who just wanted my extra tips, I just doubled up on these fleece pieces. Otherwise, you can stiffen up the fleece by doing that. That's my tips to you. Well, this one is a piranha plant. Now, I am assuming, as if people have possibly not played the game, this is kind of like the idea of a Venus flytrap, kind of a plant, but it's in the world of Mario, and they call them piranha plants because they bite. They actively are a stationary enemy that are stuck inside pipes, and they come up and out of pipes, or they just stay in pipes, and sometimes they can shoot fireballs, but most of the time if you just get too close, they will come and try to chomp you within their reach.
Like a piranha would.
Mm-hmm. So over time, they have become animated with tongues. Beforehand, they didn't used to.
Okay.
But it is what it is now, and it's fun, and it's what my son knows. Now, in this pattern, they wanted to make him actually like a plant. They actually, the creator of this pattern actually had a whole entire little garden area, in her office or whatever, and actually had him in a pot.
Oh.
An actual clay pot. So the difference between her pattern and mine was that she made a very specific sort of like dirt form and put him in a pot.
Wow.
I didn't, because
right,
my son knows him to be in a pipe.
Right.
So I did the bottom differently. Now, I will say some of this was completely on me and how I interpreted it and my knowledge of origami. I kind of stopped reading the pattern after a point and went with my knowledge of how I was going to do it.
Right.
With her pattern, she wanted the leaves at the base of where the soil was, and then the stem, and then the head. I put the leaves higher because my son knows him in a way where he's much more active, where the leaves are almost like arms and they move.
That's what I was going to ask.
So I had him more like that.
Okay.
So I was making him in the eye set of what my son knows the piranha plant to be.
Right.
With the benefit of having a creator who has already made more of the harder discoveries of shaping this plant. So again, shout out to these creators. I will make sure that they get to a link down below. They are really fantastic, and they made these so much easier to marathon. I'm not gonna lie. For as much as I had to do on my own with these crafts, they really made this very seamless work.
Right.
So this is the piranha plant.
Oh, wow.
The stem sticks out. And he might look bizarre to anyone who did not grow up with Mario in their home, but he is a very beloved enemy. He is very funny. What?
Beloved enemy.
He's memorable. He's one of those things where even if you know he's an enemy, he's fun to have like as a desk ornament on your desk. It's just like having the Goomba. It's just fun to look at. They're entertaining. They spark nostalgia for a lot of people, and they're very fun. So he is made in several different parts, and he was made in a starting up here, going all the way down in one consecutive form. So this red never split. This was all one. Now I understand that might be confusing because obviously it has an opening.
Right.
But how it's done is you're pretty much making a ball, if you know how to make a ball. But at some point, halfway through, you stop and start chaining the amount of stitches that you're not single crocheting into. Which happened to be 14 for me and where the number was. And then you just continued on. And when you hit the chains, you use that as what your row actually is. And you kept going, so that left you with a ball with a completely open side.
That's cool.
So it's practically a solid ball, but it just has an opening on one side.
Right.
Now you're supposed to, you then make 2 half moons. I know you can't see it, but you pretty much make the bottom and the top half of the mouth and the black separately. It's 2 half circles.
Right.
Then you make the tongue, and you pretty much sandwich the tongue between those half circles, sew it together, and then when you're making this rim lip, you're sewing the black and the top portion by sewing the lips on.
Okay, you're putting it all together at the same time.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're stuffing it to make sure you're keeping its shape. And then you finish off how they want you to do the lips. And then the head's practically done. You make the spots how the pattern says, and you place them at random where you want to. You then make the fleece teeth, which how I did it was I figured out what size I wanted the teeth to be. I made sure I had that piece of fleece just set to the side because that was going to be my template for the rest of the mouth. I folded a piece of white fleece, and on the folded end I put the bottom of the tooth on that folded side. Then I chopped the 2 corners, and so I made a piece of fleece that I then sewed the two ends together, so it wasn't a diamond, it was a solid triangle, and the side that was folded I sewed to the lips, so that they're firmer. If you want to touch the teeth, they are firmer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
that's
they hold
nice.
their shape a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that's how I did those, and I did 5 of those because I made a really big tongue. Now with the stem, if you're wondering how it's holding its shape, is because I used wire. Now they did suggest wire for this project, but again, because they had a clay pot that you were going to be putting everything into, it wasn't really requiring you to have any sort of weight, because eventually you would be putting the stuffing into there. It would hold the wire down, and because the pot was going to be a sturdy base, it wasn't gonna move, especially because it's not meant to be played with. You'd place it and then it would just stay there. You're not moving it around. It's not gonna jiggle. It's not gonna tip in the pot if you're not moving it and you're keeping that stuffing sturdy.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. I followed her pattern with the stem. I followed her pattern with the leaves. And from the stem up, that's where me and her stop. Her pattern for her soil and her pattern and everything else I did not follow because, again, she was putting her piranha plant in a pot to make it look like it was actually like a piranha plant that she had taken from the game and put it in one of her pots and had it in her collection of plants, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, it's the nostalgia of I'm going to make this this nostalgic piece of my childhood be a part of my adulthood.
It's kind of genius.
It's very genius, right? Because this is supposed to be a gift to my son, I had to do a little bit differently. He knows them coming out of a green pipe, so I did it different. And how I did it was I started with my son sees his toys. I'm almost done. I will give this to you in just a minute, buddy. Can I show them what I'm doing? Okay.
You can have it in a minute.
So I start. I had not attached this yet because I didn't want the weight of this part of the project. I started it around with the black. Then when I was out as far as I wanted, I did a color change and went down with the green and then finished off with the bottom like any sort of cylindrical project.
Right.
I came back up and I did a row right here because when I did the color change, I did it at, I think I did it like in the back loop, so I had that front loop available to cast back on.
Right.
And I did obviously a double crochet, folded the lip over and sewed it down so that it kind of looks like the edge of a pipe. I then, because I had the wire, I stuck it through the top of here, and I had a double wire, so I folded it. I stuck it through the head, through the stem, and down into here, and I had it curling, so it kind of stopped and then spiraled out, so that it kind of had a base. Now, obviously, it wasn't heavy enough to hold it down, but once I made sure that the stem was able to puncture through my magic ring of the black, and then I sewed everything together. What I did was I sewed I'm going to give him his toy. Go, there you go, buddy. Go.
Back on the couch.
I had weighted beads, like a weighted blanket beads. I got a baby sock and I poured some of those weighted beads into the baby sock and I sewed the baby sock closed. I then wrapped that sock around to make like a donut around the wire inside the pipe, sewed it together.
Oh.
I then flipped it over and the spiral that I had as the base of that, I sewed that to the sock so that it could not move. So when it was all inside of the pipe after sewing it all together, I stuffed the pipe, any parts of it that the weighted beads did not reach, I stuffed it with regular stuffing so that it could even out its cylindrical shape, so it looked obviously even and boxy. But that allowed for the wire to stay stable, to be able to be moldable for how he wants to place its neck and all the things, and his head and his placement. Because I stuck the wire deep enough in the head that the head could move, separate from the body, and all the things, so it can kind of move inside the pipe,
just like a piranha would.
Yep. But the beads are there to hold it down.
Yeah.
And it's squishy. It still feels squishy, kind of like a rice sock or something.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure. Now, here's the thing. If you were to make this similar to how I did it, just for yourself, so it still looks like it's coming out of a pipe, but it's not going to be played with. If it's never going to be played with, and you don't have weighted beads like me, but you want it to be able to stay stable so that it's like a paperweight or something for your office,
Right.
I suggest go into your pantry, get white rice, something that's not minute rice, just to make sure that it's not exposed to any sort of heat, it gets moldy quickly or anything.
Right.
Or you can get dried beans, unhydrated beans, and you can put those into a sock or put it in there or something. You can also use nylon in replacement of a sock that you can just repurpose to be able to be a bag for however you want to do it. If it's not going to be something handled and played with a lot and you just need to wait inside of an object, you can use things like that. But I know my son, and I realize that this thing might have a time or two in the washing machine or in some way of being washed. And so the weighted beads for me were a little bit more practical.
Yes.
But if it is not something that you have, you don't have to buy that. If it's going to be something just sitting on your desk, you can use something from the pantry like that, like dried beans that have not that need to be hydrated or something, or white rice so that it's not minute rice and can get moldy quick in heat or humidity. That works too. So I hope that was a good enough explanation for how I did that. I
think so.
I recognize that he kind of got a little excited when he saw his toys. He wanted them. The last thing I wanted to show you, I have not even showed you yet. I have not gotten done with the Cat Noir superhero, but I got a lot more of his head done. I got his hair done.
Ooh.
I got his smile on. I got his collar on, and I've got his ears on.
Ooh, let's look at this thing. Wow. Look at him.
So now he has hair.
So cool.
He has a smile. I even made a little bell with some very shiny embroidery thread. I crocheted with a very small hook, a ball.
That is awesome.
His ears are made of regular acrylic yarn, and I put felt inside them.
Wow.
So that they held their shape and kind of had a feeling of a little bit of a different texture on the inside of his ears.
Right.
To be kind of like a cat. So yeah, I am struggling, and it's not that I'm struggling with my motivation to finish this project, but I'm struggling with my pacing with this project. I thought I was going to be like one and done, like have it done quickly, but this project kind of has been going at its own pace, and every single time I pull him out and get it a little bit more done, my son gets excited, and I want him to have this toy. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's coming to me when it's time. Like every single time I'm ready to like get a leg done or get an arm done or get another feature done, I get it done and then I set it down. It's not because it's going out of sight, out of mind, as much as like, it's just not time to pull it back out again.
Right.
I got those 4 done in like the span of, like the piranha plant was done in 1 day.
Whoa.
All those decisions, all those things happened all in 1 day.
Wow.
Really, since last Wednesday to Sunday morning was how quickly I got all 4 of those done. Realistically, the piranha plant was just Saturday. I started the Goomba, I think, on Friday. Finished him some point Saturday. So it's one of those things where it's like, in realistic time for me and my memory, my hands, it's like I kind of really marathoned from like Friday-ish, Saturday to Sunday.
Yeah.
But I really did start some of these projects more like Wednesday, like with the star, but I put it back down and then I didn't pick it back up again for a couple days. It was one of those things where it's like, it really hit me and got like a fire under my butt around Friday, Saturday, when I was like, I have no choice. I have to get these done.
Right.
And it was like, I can't not give these to him for his birthday. And like, I saw all these people give him like bags and bags full of gifts, and I'm sitting there being like, quietly being like, okay, I know I already gave him that Bowser. That was really a lot of work and all this stuff. And I know that they know that I gave him that already. And I know that I've only given him 4 things, and they're really small, and they barely fill the bag. And then he opened them, and he literally lost it.
Yeah.
He was so excited.
He was so excited. It was good.
And it was just so heartwarming, and he's just been so happy with them. Just so happy with them. Like you just heard, he was just so excited to see them again because I didn't bring them originally. Right. And then I had to go run back and get them. So it's like, I don't know. It just gets me, and I'm just grateful that my kids appreciate what we do enough that even my daughter the other day
was spending time with me and had to do a craft. Well, let's say it started the night before because she wanted to do the craft, and then you guys had to leave. And she's
at the party.
She started to cry a little, and I told her she was coming over the next day to have some girl time with Nana. And she got excited. I left her craft stuff on my dining room table. That's what she ran to the minute she walked in the door, and she got it done. And this is what it is.
So she told me at the party, I had brought this guy to work on, and I got those 4 gifts done, and I was like, I'll bring this so that he can see that I'm still working on them, that I haven't forgotten about them. I've been working on them. And my daughter sat across from me, and she's like, Mommy, I have paper, but I need stuffing because I'm going to make something. And I was like, baby, I don't know.
And I told her I had stuffing, and she's like, Nana, you have stuffing?
And it was one of those things where I was like, I don't know what you're thinking, and how are you going to stuff something with paper? And I knew you could make a pocket with paper or a shape with paper. It was one of those things where it's like, my child's 5, so I didn't know what her vision was. I didn't know what she was trying to do. She's like, Mommy, I need some of your stuffing. I need some of your stuffing. I want to make something. I'm like, okay. But then we had to leave. And my mom didn't tell me what it was, but she told me, she's like, Sarah, I think she was copying you. She made a shape out of paper, and then she stuffed it, and then she closed it off with tape, and she even had a face on it. And I was like, what? And today I got to see this little tube that she fully made with 2 circles, cutting 2 circles, then got this piece of paper that circled it into shape, taped it, then taped the ends on, stuffed it, and then put this little face on it and taped this down, and it's a little toy that has stuffing in it. This was what she made. And she's been
her
telling...
little 5-year-old self.
And I am just so dumbfounded by this because she kept coming up to me while I was making these projects for Canyon, and I had her in the know. I had her in the understanding as to what we were doing, and she wanted to help me with them, and I thought we would be able to do it together, but then I had a marathon, and some of it was at night where she wasn't out when I was trying to get some of it done, so I wasn't able to do it with her the way that I thought I was going to. But the other day when I was crocheting, trying to get the piranha plant done, I think she sat down with me, and she asked for one of my crochet hooks and some of my yarn, and she started chaining with me.
Wow!
Because I've been teaching her how to do that,
Yay.
and then I went back with a double crochet, and I did like 3 double crochets and 1 foundation chain to make the spiral effect. And then I called it unicorn hair because most amigurumi stuffies use that spiral technique to make like fun unicorn ringlets. So yeah, so I don't know. She was so excited about that, and she really wants to start making her own toys, Nana, with yarn.
Well, there you go.
And so her doing this on her own, her thinking up this shape on her own, her thinking and problem solving this on her own, to me is just...
I'm going to put the date on it because you're going to want to keep this.
I'm going to keep that. That is, yes.
So
Almost made me cry. Not going to lie. It's okay. We do have a saying for today to finish off our episode, and I think I will read it while my mom is getting the that on there. It is, I think it's the 30th.
What? It wasn't yesterday, it was Monday.
Today's Wednesday.
I know. Today's the 31st.
Oh, got it. You're writing the date that she did it down. That's right. I was just thinking of today's date.
No.
My bad. Never let success get to your head, and never let failure get to your heart. That is so punctual. Like, it's right to the point. You know, never let success get to your head, never let failure get to your heart. I have actually randomly been listening to some conversations that I've been talking about self-confidence and how to have self-confidence. And there has been this conversation of like, you have self-confidence when you know you can do something almost without sight, like automatically. Like, you are confident in your, it's the ability to trust that you know how to do something.
Yeah.
And some people are so confident in how they talk because they have no hesitation, or they know how to, they're confident in how they communicate, or they're confident in how they perform in certain things, or they're confident in their knowledge, or they're confident in their hobby, or their gift, or their work, or their punctuality, being on time, whatever it is. I know that that can come as both a good thing and it can get you off focus as to what it is meant to serve as. It's one of those things where it's like, when you focus on your self-confidence in the appropriate light, then it rewards you. But sometimes success can blind you and make you overconfident.
Right.
And then you're unable to be able to acknowledge yourself in other ways.
Right.
But then you can overestimate your failures to being more generalized than it needs to be too. Your thoughts while I take care of this little one?
Never let success get to your head. Never boast in something that you know how to do. Because if you do, somehow everything that you know will be challenged. And never let failure get to your heart. Failure can always be rectified. If you fail in something one time, you can try something new the next time, and you never try that the same way again. You know that the failure is just a way to success. And so never let success get to your head, and never let failure get to your heart. I think it's something that all of us crafters can do. We all have ways of doing things. Like Sarah can make these toys, and she can do it sometimes on her own and sometimes with patterns. And she's always learning. And it's a matter of, whether she needs the pattern or whether she can do it on her own is something that, she's successful at. But even if she was to fail, like she thought she failed at that star, but she really didn't. I mean, Daniel knew what it was. Just don't let it get to your heart when you do fail, because you can always try a different way the next time. And I think that's basically what crafting is. You try it, and if it doesn't work for you, you try it a different way.
I think the biggest thing that I was trying to portray before he distracted me was that in the conversation that I've been listening to was that when you're dealing with self-confidence, you have to be careful to not let your failures dictate so much of what you can get right. And sometimes your overconfidence in some areas can actually betray you into what you're actually truly self-confident in, what you actually trust yourself to be good at doing, because you overestimate your reach as to what you can accomplish, just as much as you sell yourself too short as to what you can accomplish. It's like a hit and miss situation. Right. So we have to go. But thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you had a great day. So
just go.
We are going to end our video because our little one needs us, and we hope that he hasn't been too much of a distraction. We were so excited to share all this with you today, and as always, we hope that you stitch your way
to mental health.